We are here live at Manadon Sport and Community Centre in Plymouth with Seetec's Onwards and Upwards Veterans Day event.
About skills, because that is the key. So I don't think whether people have come from the armed forces or whether they've come from the hospitality sector or industry or construction, we all have an amount of skills that we don't realise. So we take things for granted, turning up on time, being there, working hard, helping others out. These are all things that we tend when people sit and they write a CV, for example, or they sit at an interview, they tend not to talk about those attributes, massive attributes that they have, because they take them for granted. And what I do with the participants that I work with is spend a lot of time just talking to them, coaching them through, recognising just how skillful they are, what they have to bring to the party, how much they have to offer that is beyond waiting on a table or serving behind a bar or laying bricks or whatever other thing that they might do, fixing helicopters, and because there is so much more to us than what it says on the tin.
You're working at the University of Plymouth as Operations Director. Tell us about your journey back into civilian employment and how that led to where you are today.
Yeah, I've really kind of taken a very random route from working for South West Water as an engineer to working in a chewing gum factory, working for a bank. I've tried a few different bits, and what I've really learned about myself is actually I don't necessarily know what I want to do because I did the dream job. But actually there's lots of things from each of those employments that I've taken that I absolutely love. And the job that I'm doing now allows me to combine all of that. So working for HSBC, I learned a lot around kind of processes and procedures and customer service. Working as an engineer, it's about problem solving, being methodical, and actually the job that I have now, we take all of those bits and kind of combine it together. I absolutely love working with people. I love to see people smile. I really love kind of solving problems and trying to work things through. And actually, the job that I'm doing now takes all of those kind of elements that I've enjoyed and kind of puts them in one pot. So I finally feel like I'm doing something that actually I really enjoy. Although I'm not qualified to do, you wouldn't look at my CV and necessarily think, this person is absolutely the right operations director for us. It's the skills, it's the things that you've learned, the things that you're passionate about that actually make up the person and the job. And I think that as soon as you can be comfortable to not be the expert, you can then absolutely encourage your team, who are the experts, to keep things going. And as long as you keep challenging and you keep talking and, pushing yourself and your team to be the best that they can be, you're in a good place.
Gemma, you're an employment advisor on the Restart scheme with Seetec Pluss. Does your experience in the forces help you within your role? And what kind of support do you give people to help them back into work?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the main thing when you're in the armed forces, you learn a lot of transferable skills. So teamwork, communication, discipline, definitely organisation. I think anyone who knows me knows I'm a little bit like that with organisation. So yeah, definitely, I use all of those skills as an employment advisor. My main role is helping participants who have been, unemployed for long periods of time, getting back into work, especially with a reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic. But for me, as an employment advisor, it's guiding and supporting them back into the workplace through whatever support they need, definitely.
And as someone who's been through that process, is it tricky? Is it hard?
To sort of change career?
To transition,
yeah, definitely. I think especially for myself, I left the armed forces because I had my children. So it was a big step going from being a child really myself, at 16, and then growing up and having children. On the back of that, going into being an employment advisor, it was really about just identifying those transferable skills, being able to move across.
And for someone who's been through that process and obviously now advising others, what advice would you give to people who may be considering starting that journey?
In terms of armed forces personnel? Yeah, definitely. So I think armed forces personnel, it is tough because you're so institutionalized into, this is what you do and this is how you do. So my advice to anyone who's leaving the armed forces would definitely be take as many qualifications as you can. There's so much availability, in the armed forces to get whatever you need to make that a civilian qualification. So yeah, definitely take everything you can.
Great stuff. And Chris, during your time working on the work and health programme, have you come across people who are looking for support after leaving the forces? And if so, how do you tailor their support around their situation?
We're quite fortunate, I guess, with our participant base because we have a very wide scope of people that we look after. And I think veterans especially, one of the things that when they leave, actually it's those real life sort of skills that they may not have necessarily had. People have gone, like myself, straight from school into that environment, never had to work out a food budget or how to pay the rent or those sort of domestic stuff. And that's sometimes those barriers are really ingrained. So actually by the time that they might reach us on the work and health programme, those are almost habits that you need to kind of unpick. But they can be quite traumatic to actually go through, and actually having someone to explain it in the terms of, I suppose, an environment that they're used to is really what our fantastic employment advisors are so good at. It's because they can translate a lot of that into, this is what you can expect, this is the journey that you're likely to go on, and this is the support that is available to you. But as I suppose from I suppose a wider scope point of view, we've got plenty of veterans within our ranks ready to help, and I think that really does make such a difference in being able to translate that into the real world.
Having that relatability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff.
It's a breakfast club and an organisation that anyone can go to, so that we've got no form filling. We're not really interested in why people are coming or what their backgrounds are, providing they've served or they are serving, they're more than welcome. And we've got veterans that come who are mid-20s, right the way up through to, I think 95 is our oldest regular at the moment.
Wow. And you must have met so many kind of inspiring people who've come along and taken part in the club. Why do you think it's so important for veterans to come along and attend?
I think we've all got different backgrounds, but one thing that brings us all together is the common serving element. And if we're all having a bad day in our own little world, we can come together and we can just relay stories, talk about things that we've done, and we can all understand where they're coming from. So it's almost, if you're feeling particularly lonely that day, you just know that there's going to be someone to talk to and you'll have a friend.
You joined us today on behalf of the Plymouth Argyle Community Trust. Tell us a little bit about your organisation and the work that you're doing to support veterans.
Yeah, so we're the charity side of Plymouth Argyle Football Club, and the veteran programme we've started doing is relatively new. It came off the back of COVID and lockdowns. And the first project was just organising a weekly Zoom call. And the idea was to keep veterans engaging with each other. If they can't get out and about and see each other face to face, so we gave them the platform to that they could still chat amongst themselves, because we know that amongst veterans, they feel more comfortable in that sort of situation. So that's where it stemmed from. More recently, we've managed to open up our doors more and deliver more projects on the back of that, which has been brilliant to see. So the most popular one is probably the Veteran Hub we run on a Friday morning, afternoon, and it's just great to bring people into one place, and from there we can offer them, different sports and activities which they can engage in, which is really good to see. And also it just gives them a safe place to kind of meet and greet have a coffee, have a tea, and just kind of chat amongst themselves and have a little chinwag, really.
Short video from a couple
Yeah.
of your veterans who attended the Veterans Hub. So let's take a look.
Well, I mean, mentally, it's helped me. It has helped me because I'm ex-forces and I saw a lot of things in the army, and I was on a downer, and then I've done this course, and it's helped me massively. I'm more confident now than what I was before I started the course. So it's a good course.
Well, the Zoom calls started first of all because from March the 12th, I think, of last year, I don't think I went anywhere at all for 12 months. And obviously in the Zoom meetings I was able to explain how I was feeling to the likes of other Help the Heroes members, and Will when he took on the job, and Ben. And it was an outlet rather than just sitting at home on my own. I'm a widower of 5 years now, so yeah, brilliant. And then when they said about this meeting up here on a Friday, I've tried to get up here for 11 till 1 on each occasion, but there's been several things going on. I think I was just about ready to have a go at the bowls recently, and I might just mention that I've been on a little bit of a crash diet because of my diabetes being way out of control. So any opportunity to do gentle exercise, as we can call it, yeah, pretty good.
That's great stuff. Well, it must be really rewarding for you to see the lives that you're impacting. What does it mean to you?
It's amazing to see. It's rewarding just to see the positive impact you can have on someone's life, and it's whether that's, you know, a smile on someone's face or, you know, the kind words obviously seen in the video, and it makes what we do, what we turn up each day, and you know, it's just amazing to be part of something that has a massive impact on individuals' lives.
Work in the Veterans and Families Hub at Improving Lives Plymouth. So we support veterans and family members on a whole range of different things. We work with all the other services in and around Plymouth. So if we can't do anything within the hub, we can signpost and make sure each and every veteran and family member are getting the support that they need.
Great stuff. And what are your key areas for supporting veterans?
Anything goes, really. The whole idea of the Veterans Hub, there's lots of different things available for veterans in Plymouth, but there's often not a central point for veterans, and that's a big hurdle for some, not knowing where to go in the first place. So the hub was designed to be in that first port of call, and then we could signpost as and where needed to. Within the hub, we do anything from the social element, benefit checks, applying for blue badges, carers assessments are supporting anyone in an unpaid carers role, and then we can signpost as and where we need to into kind of mental health, employment, and so on. You support families as well, the armed forces community. Tell us a little bit about that work that you do. Yeah, so for me, in the family aspect, I'm married to a Royal Marine who was injured in service. I was 21 when he was injured, and he had brilliant support around him, but actually in the family support there wasn't a lot there. So having gone through it myself, I know kind of the importance of supporting that family, because ultimately if you're supporting the family, you are actually supporting that veteran. Also in the family is often the voice for the veteran. When they don't want to reach out for help, if they're in that black hole, actually that family member can come to us and get the support what the veteran needs. So yeah, and the family is just as important as a veteran.
Our Armed Forces champions are committed to serving veterans. If a veteran claims benefit, it's usually universal credit, but it could be employment support allowance, or it could be a range of other benefits. If they make themselves known to us, and if they have any issues, then our work coaches in the job centres will make a referral to the Armed Forces champions. The Armed Forces champions are then able to discuss with that individual veteran what the issues are, and they can then caseload that the veteran or case conference with the work coaches and ensure that whatever the issues are, that they will try their hardest to resolve them. And it's not working alone. This is about working in partnership, working with various other organisations, whether it be the Career Transition Partnership, homeless organisations, the RFEA, who support veterans back into employment. It could be financial issues, homelessness, you name it. Any issues that are causing, or health issues, which is a big common denominator with our customers, and especially with veterans. So the Armed Forces champions will support them, advise them, and refer them to any specialist support that's available.
Don't be afraid of reaching out, because some people are very reticent to ask for help or find out what's going on. And it is difficult, because some people's transition from being in the armed forces to be civilian is completely different to the next. Everybody's an individual. But I would say don't be afraid to ask for help, and obviously talk to your oppos, because everybody's been through something before. And obviously word of mouth is always better than any other recommendation. So I would say don't be a stranger, ask anybody, ask for help. And if all else fails, just get in touch with the DWP if you're on any work and age benefit, and you can ask for one of us to be assigned to your case in addition to your work coach, and we will see what we can do for you.
Mo's already said, don't be afraid to reach out. A lot of the veterans I speak to, some of them don't feel like they deserve the help, really. They don't feel like they've done enough in service. They always know somebody who's had it harder than they have. And I think sometimes veterans find it hard to ask for help than perhaps other people do. So it's about contacting us, getting in touch. If you're on universal credit, just speak to your work coach, ask to be put in touch with one of your Armed Forces champions, and we'll look to engage with them and just help them along. If they're not on benefits, obviously the other people who've been here today certainly reach out to those organisations and just see what's on offer and how it can move you forward.
Certainly, yeah. So start off, first of all, so Active Plus is a community interest company. We utilise the skills and experience of Armed Forces veterans and their families to do confidence and motivation building within the community. So we've got a lot of experience from our own lives and things that we've all done, and we're using that lived experience to help disadvantaged and potentially vulnerable people and businesses to unlock their potential and be the best version of them that they can be.
Dan, now coming to yourself.
Hi.
I know you're a real-life example of how Active Plus have helped to change the life of a veteran. Could you start by telling us about your time in the forces and your journey with Active Plus?
Yeah, I joined the Navy at 16, ended up in the submarine service and things like that, travelled around the world and whatnot. After I left, I had a lot of issues with my mental health, PTSD, bipolar and things like that, and there wasn't much support for me and things, so drifted for a few years. I got put on the Active Plus course through the Job Centre for long-term unemployed. And I walked in on the first day, and the lead instructor, our lead instructor now, Dave Street, was there. And he'd actually taught me how to shoot when I first joined the Royal Navy in Phase 1. So there was that instant rapport there with knowing him and things like that. And slowly but surely, I volunteered for 3-4 years. I've been in active employment again for the past 2 years and things like that. And I'm still volunteering with Active Plus now.
We see the volunteering as being very much that sort of stepping stone from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. You know, it is a big step. If you're going through hard times or you've got challenges, actually walking straight into full-time employment can be a big step. But by going and doing some volunteering, just getting a job sample, proving to yourself what you are capable of doing again, and proving to others what you're capable of doing again, and by volunteering and showing people, you generally can move into employment or wherever you want to go. The majority of our Armed Forces veterans join us as volunteers, and Dan and I are 2 examples of that. We volunteered, we then got paid employment through Active Plus. So we definitely see that volunteering as being a stepping stone on whatever journey you're on.
So I got out of the army in 2008. At the time I was suffering with undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder. Life was just pretty down the pan, and couldn't really turn it around. Never had a full-time job, or just made cash, and then I worked for myself because that's all I could cope with. And then I walked into this building here in Weymouth, and my boss Brian was sat there. My boss at the time now was sat there recruiting people who want to go and help people over 50s get back into work. And I thought that I couldn't do much, but as soon as he offered us a pint and a meal to find out a bit more, I was all over it. So and then never looked back since. I used violence, alcohol, and just isolation. I think that was how I coped. That's how I got through it, which obviously doesn't serve you, because got in trouble with the law, went to prison, constant depression and almost just the ripple effect. Obviously, one bad thing was leading to the next one, to lead to the next, and if I felt bad before I did something stupid and went out and got into a fight or got in trouble, then I felt even worse because I had a court case coming up, and then I had a fine to pay and didn't work, I couldn't get any work. And I realised that what I'd been doing was blaming everything else. So I blamed Iraq, I blamed the army, I blamed the government, I blamed everybody around me. It was always somebody else's fault. I blamed the person who I'd beat up or something because it was their fault that they did this. And then when I realised to take that responsibility back, that empowered me to change and to choose a different response. I think we're all born with it, but we stop trusting it, and for one reason or another, we've got that knowledge, we know what to do in the back of our minds, but for some reason we're not doing it. And I think Active Plus has definitely helped me find it again, and the importance, the importance of being self-aware. Because maybe before you would ask me what's self-awareness, I wouldn't have a clue. But now I know, and I know that that's the start of it. And I think if you're aware of something, especially a problem, you're more capable of changing it. Just being aware of it initially, and then aware of yourself and how you can react to it and move forward. Before I used to limit it, and when I was learning these new skills, I'd hide it from people, and I wouldn't be so positive. But then I think all I'm doing is feeding their negativity or feeding other people's. So I definitely look at, instead of just positive and negative, I look at proactive and reactive. And by being proactive, it's given me more positivity, and it's actually putting a positive spin. So I think there's no sort of good or bad. It's, say something happens in life, it's it's how you react that matters. So sometimes people say, Ash, I can't get any positives out of this situation. No matter how hard I try, I've listened to everything you say. But then I say, not everything, sometimes things happen really bad and we can't take positives from it. But it's easier to look within and say, how can I react to it, and how can I respond to it in a positive way? I think it gives them another way, another option. Something that, I think belief as well, because you're looking at people and they've done things, or they've been through things in life and they think, never going to turn around, that's it's done. And maybe a common misconception like PTSD, or you're never going to get better and this is all you're going to do is learn to live with it. But I say it all the time that I don't think recovery is a destination. I think it's a journey, and journeys can get better. And if you learn to be able to scope that journey, and you learn to be able to be the driver of your own vehicle, if you like, and point it in the direction you want, you get a much better life than just thinking, well, this is it, I'm stuck with this now, I'm never gonna get any better. I quite hand on heart say I don't know if I'd be here, because it got so much to the point of where everything I touched just fell apart. And it's not long before you do that, and you start to fall apart yourself, and things come in your mind, and other options come in your mind. And I think it is a reason. This is definitely one of the main things that I'm still here today. Because I think even with the best intentions, if you've got a loving family, no matter what, but if you're that suffering, you can think to yourself, I'm just hurting other people. So the only way to stop that is by maybe hurting yourself. But it's not true. It's just learning to accept the fact that things have happened, and that's not always going to be your future. You can turn it around.
So the top tips from us would be, first of all, register with the RFEA, because we have veterans, most of us are veterans ourselves, so we know what it's like we've lived that experience, we've been through that journey, and so we can help with those CVs and break down those skills. We also work with a great team of employers within the RFEA who will go out and source vacancies for them, get them work trials and get them a foot in the door. So yeah, register with the RFEA would be my top tip to start with. But then, of course, do your research. Have a look at the industry that you want to go into. Are those salaries going to be something that's going to be sustainable for you? Are you willing to train, or do you need to be earning a certain amount already? And I think that's a real big consideration for a lot of people leaving the forces, because a lot of them may already have mortgages, families to support. So, it has to be realistic.
What we've realised from a city point of view is the potential of our military service personnel and the contribution that they could make, fill in all these amazing vacancies that we have in the city. So we've come together in citywide partnership to form Military Tuesday. So every Tuesday, funnily enough, between 10 to 4 o'clock, we're basically offering a chance for military service leavers, our veterans and their families to literally drop into Barclays Bank on Armada Way to meet with myself, colleagues, Katie, our DWP Armed Forces champions that you met a bit earlier today. And basically we brought together everything as a one-stop shop for skills, training, education, careers and jobs. So all these jobs we've kind of articulated, we know where those jobs are, and we want to invite our Armed Forces personnel to drop in and see us to help navigate. We can provide impartial advice and guidance on careers. We can support kind of one-to-one skills assessments. We can help you sort of translate your CV. We can help you with your job searching, how you apply, build your confidence up to sort of get back in the game, and really define where you want to be, because it can be, I can imagine, transitioning out of the armed forces can be pretty tricky, and actually we are able to help connect people with local employers, the sectors. We're doing an awful lot of work together in collaboration to provide kind of insight experiences, behind the scene tours of construction sites, our manufacturing companies, etc., to showcase really what those job roles are in the working environments, to see if we can help people transition more easily. So I think there's all to play for, and also in terms of upskilling training. So in terms of fill in the requirements of all these job vacancies. If there's something missing on the CV, we can obviously support and guide people through that journey as well. So in one place, in the city of Plymouth, local people can actually meet people like myself, Katie, Careers Transition Partnership, DWP Armed Force work coaches. And I think it's just a fantastic free service to help our armed forces community take their best next step.
25 years in the Royal Navy. I came out of the Royal Navy and I thought that I was pretty well prepared for it. But believe me, you aren't. We always expect as service persons to be fully briefed when we come into the real world, and there were lots and lots of questions out there. It was a bewildering environment to me to start off with. And I believe that the Armed Forces Covenant supports that and will help servicemen as they come out and doing their transition into the big wide world.
So many employees pledge to the Armed Forces Covenant. What does that mean for their business, and how does it benefit them?
It means that you will attract veterans into your business, and one of the key things of having a veteran in your business is not only the skills that they can provide directly to your business that you've employed them for, but they come with them a huge range of other skills that they've gained over their time in their service careers.
Yeah, so we were given the Gold Covenant status around 3 years ago now, and we see it as a recognition for the work that we do with supporting people who are leaving the armed forces, and that's on a twofold basis really. One is we support people to access training and get new jobs, but on the other hand we also love employing people from the forces as well. But we're linked into lots of charities and other organisations in the area, and the Gold Covenant was just part of recognition for that, but we saw that as the start of the activity we were doing.
And we've spoken a lot today about the support available for people leaving the services or former services. But as an employer, of course, that's a big part of it as well, that an employer can access the skills and support to help give the right support to people who may be coming from military service. Tell us a little bit about why you think employers should consider employing ex-service personnel.
So I think, speaking from personal experience, because I mean we employ 1,000 staff, and we deliver training from Kent, Gloucestershire, down to this part of the world in Cornwall. First thing I'd say is the right thing to do. But on the other hand, I think that that lots of employers are experiencing a lot of skill shortages at the moment. Lots of industries, for reasons we won't talk about now, we need people. And coming out through the forces are people who are highly trained, highly experienced, incredible leadership skills, and a lot of them have great skills in healthcare, engineering, logistics, and these industries need those people. I mean, as an education provider, we employ around 30 ex-forces people, and some of them now mentor others as well. And we train people to be incredible lecturers, but we need good, talented, engaging, inspirational people right from industry that can inspire the next generation and also help us retrain the nation to make sure we can give them the jobs they need for tomorrow. So I think that it's the right thing to do, but it's from a business perspective, this is a no-brainer really.
Yeah. The University of Plymouth, a great example of an employer who've supported people like yourself in the workplace since leaving the forces. Would you tell us a little bit about how the university supports their veteran staff members?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the university is a really great place to work. It looks after all of the staff. However, there's a particular kind of warm spot in their heart for the people from a military background, mostly because we're in a really beautiful military city. But yeah, they look after us by making sure that we have access to kind of employee assistance, kind of learning and development, whether it's professional or just from a personal perspective. And what I'm really enjoying at the moment is that we've been able to set up our breakfast club, so the Armed Forces Veterans Breakfast Club, and the university allow me to use our university facilities on a weekend to open up to all of the veterans in the local area, and we all come together and just have a really good time actually. And it's just so nice to know that I work for an employer who really embraces everything that the military personnel have to offer. So yeah, it's a really great place to work.
So yeah, I left the Marines, obviously being into fitness myself and kind of understanding what fitness meant to me in terms of my mental health, and it sort of keeps me on the straight and narrow, and I want to share that experience and that with everybody and help people along their own journeys as well, because it's a good way of sort of not hiding, but coping. It's a nice coping mechanism, and it's good for you as well. So I was working in a few other gyms, PT, and I think when I started doing personal training, I was charging £5 an hour. And I'm not even joking, and I was struggling to fill up my calendar. And I was like, look, guys, I'm a former Roman commander. I was a physical training instructor. I was in charge of training Marines.
What do you need?
And people were like, I don't know what that means, mate. I'm sorry. And I think with the internet and the way that the companies are getting behind veterans now, people are slowly understanding what that is. But yeah, in that first sort of 6 months to a year, I was working for a gym. I was working on the doors at night to make ends. And I think I was working 2 jobs on the doors at night to try and support that PT business. And it just, I fell in love with that idea of fitness and how I can help people. So I was like, right, my goal is to create a gym or an environment where people can come and train with like-minded individuals from different backgrounds. They don't have to be veterans, you don't have to be in the military, etc.
How did you find the support coming out of the forces, and what was the time like for you?
Yeah, so as Ben said, it wasn't the best it could be, I think. There's a lot of work to be done, especially the career transition workshop and the resettlement process, because you kind of feel like you're on your own. You kind of just given, leaflets, guides, places to go, people to see, and it's almost like you're just another number. And it really hits home when you're on the final day, cut up your ID card, and like Ben said, I was sat in my car also in my uniform for probably the last time and just broke down absolutely in tears for that day and a couple of days after. So it's tough, obviously, but there's support out there, and it's great to see organisations, mostly charities to be fair, actually helping veterans kind of transition, and see organisations like Seetec get involved is very encouraging.